Browns, OTAs continue tomorrow. The media gets to see more of the Cleveland Browns. And yet we find ourselves having to talk about the Cleveland Browns we should not expect to see. As Mary Kay Cabot joined the Midday Ball earlier today and talked about what, maybe just maybe, what the Browns are preparing their fans for.
There is not one time where we ever have a discussion about the quarterbacks where they don't slide his name in there somehow, some way. So I think they're trying to prepare the fan base for the notion that, okay, maybe this isn't 100% over yet, or maybe there is some other kind of method to their madness where they want others in the league to see that he's working really, really hard to come back.
All right. Specific to what she said at the start there, JP.
Yeah.
There's no way you can actually prepare Browns fans for the idea that Deshaun could play again for the Cleveland Browns. Nothing you do now or in the coming months will actually suffice to the fury that will happen if he actually sees the field this year. That said, you do have to try.
And that's it. Like, I do think it's working in many ways, because I think a lot of fans had completely closed that door shut. I remember just even a couple months ago having the conversation being like, there's a world where you just have enough injuries and he ends up getting out there, and people were not very responsive to that thought process. Now, it's obviously because they don't like Deshaun. Nobody likes Deshaun. But if they're paying him all this money, like, I guess you got to tell people what the expectations could be.
So the thing with Deshaun is it's not as simple, from my vantage point, it's not as simple as they just don't like Deshaun. It's they don't like the ugliness that has come with Deshaun as well.
You mean the fans?
Yeah, fans. Yeah. So, like, it's not as simple. Like, there are people who just, what he was accused of and then his failure on the field is just, he's become Voldemort. We just don't speak of that name.
You can cut it both ways. Like, if you're one of those people, and I tend to be, separate the art from the artist. All right, football perspective alone, he's too injured and sucks at football.
Well, and I think there's a part of it, and this is the same thing as the Sashi Wars, the same thing as the Baker Wars. Like, guys, it's a valid conversation of how bad the Browns screwed this all up. They traded the wrong quarterback, even though Baker wasn't worth $50 million a year. He hadn't been paid that, and Baker's worked out, and the plan you went with didn't work out. So no matter what the logic was going in, one thing worked out that wasn't supposed to, and one thing that was supposed to work out didn't work out, and culminated in the biggest failure in the history of the Cleveland Browns in the Deshaun trade. So the reason why I bring all that up, but like, people still get pissed if you talk about Baker, and it's like, guys, it's valid conversation. And the same thing goes with, like, Deshaun. Like, I think there are people who have that anger just about Deshaun specifically and all the other stuff. I think there are people who just, the conversation is never a civil conversation. That conversation has gotten to a point where, and the Baker point reached this, the Sashi stuff, where when Deshaun Watson is spoken, it always leads to a negative conversation, meaning, like, people arguing about a guy who, even if you're ambivalent about him, you end up having some sort of opinion because of the stink of failure for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, but it never becomes the argument where it's like, no, I think Deshaun is actually good at football. It just becomes can we one up each other and how much we both dislike Deshaun Watson?
There actually are people out there who still think
I don't believe it to be true. There might be like 5 people on Twitter that thinks Deshaun Watson can still do something, and I would bet 4 of them have the last name Watson. If we actually search the IP address. Throw out the number. Yeah. If I can find 3 Deshaun Watson supporters in the phone lines right now that genuinely actually believe that he is a good NFL quarterback and will be something for either the Browns or another team, I will lay down my sword. I will be flabbergasted. I don't think they exist.
216-474-0092. He's putting out the clarion call. If you're still a Deshaun, Watson warrior. If you're still a Watson warrior and believe the Browns have failed him and they're still good football,
how could they?
I guess we want to hear from you. But
now, think about it. Like, I think there's people, and I know because I saw it. And listen, not that everything exists on Twitter, obviously, because that's not great. But I saw people angry at the fact that Mary Kay in that clip was even making the suggestion that he's around other Browns players, and other Browns players are being, supported by Deshaun Watson and being taught by Deshaun Watson,
which the Browns have gone out of their way to tell you, by the way.
People get mad about that.
Kevin has made but to me, that's just the toxicity of the situation. And I guess, like, maybe to flip this from how we originally talked about it, it is an absolutely futile, and I hope the Browns know this. right? Like, this is a futile thing.
By the way, hey Matt, can you get me a phone line record, because I can't just click on the thing and let it play the phone line? Can we have that in the system? Because that's what we have right now in the phone bank for Watson Warriors.
Yet they're I'm not going to take a shot. They're taking time. They're taking time to really ponder their points.
Is that what you're going to say?
That's where we're going to go.
Slow playing it.
216. Yeah, that's what they are. Much like Deshaun, they're going to take 3 years to answer. To call in 216-474-0092. Watson Warriors. But like, I hope the Browns do understand. There's nothing you can do. There's no amount of normalizing the idea that Deshaun will step foot on the field ever again that will actually stop Browns fans from having what will be a toxic, messy, uneven, adult temper tantrum style response if you put that guy on the field again. I hope they know that. Like, I'm not saying that you can draw up reasons why you think it makes sense. And listen, the Browns have to do it because you have to try. You have to say you tried if you're the PR team.
Well, you got to give some people some sense of a warning.
I hope you know that if that, whether it's week 1, enough? Week 8, or week 17, if he sees the field again, okay,
but is the warning enough to even bad enough to begin with, though?
What do you mean?
Like, think about it. Like, the fact that if they're giving us these warnings, as Mary Kay says, where it's like they're letting us know, they're putting it into our brains that this is a possibility, because they want, if it happens, they want us to not feel like it completely sideswiped and blindsided everybody, okay? Isn't that bad enough? Because that means that it is very much on the table that we get to a spot into what you're describing where he actually does see the field.
I mean, theoretically, 1% means it's on the table.
Well,
I still think it's a pretty low probability that Deshaun ever sees the field in Cleveland. Actually, in the NFL again,
well, if they're talking on that, if they're talking about it, and they're as Mary Kay again, as she's putting it, whereas if they're preparing the fan base at the idea that it is a possibility, then first off, I would think it has to be larger than 1%. But that means they've wasted and spent time this offseason discussing what exactly that plan is for Deshaun, and there's a plan out there that exists where he sees the field.
The threat will always be 1% or higher as long as he is actually on a roster. And as long as he is in the building, in meetings, the threat is there. So there's nothing the Browns can do about that because they literally cannot cut him right now. So I guess the Browns are just kind of doing what they have to do, which is he's in those meetings and he's doing things. And we're happy to have him because you don't have any other choice.
Now, Mary Kay thinks it's deeper than that, though, because she talked about how they're intentionally putting his name into all of these conversations.
Oh, no, so it could be. But I tend to think, as of right now, it's covering all bases. Could there be scenarios in the wheel of possibilities that at some point it becomes advantageous to throw him out there on the field again, including if they just run out of other quarterbacks? Yeah. Now,
that's what I want to know.
I'd like to remind the Browns, you could just still sign Jeff Driscoll. You could just go out there and get yourself a modern-day Bruce Gradkowski or Ken Dorsey and just grind this one out at the end of the season if you're a bad football team. But
I'd respect it a lot more if they ended up going through, we just went through 4 quarterbacks and everyone's injured, and then they just go out there and just get some slappy instead of letting Deshaun do an audition for the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's only 2 things that I think would happen with the Deshaun thing. Meaning, let's say it's all your quarterbacks. You get hurt or whatever, and you get to, let's go 4 weeks to go, 4 games to go. And you have to have a new quarterback. You have to go to quarterback 5. All right? Deshaun's healthy. He comes off the IR. There's only 2 ways that goes. 1, he continues to be who he's been, and it just falls so far apart, and he actually helps you get the number 1 pick. The other is he's just flawless. He wins 4 games, and then you get one step farther away from a quarterback next year, and then you have to have the Deshaun conversation all over again. And I think that's the number 1 reason why I don't think they'd ever willfully put him on the field again, because they know if he looks even mildly good, you're going to have that conversation. And I don't.
Well, the kick in the groin is if he goes out there and actually wins games and costs you like the number 1 pick overall or like a top 3 pick.
It's got to be on the table, right? He could actually.
I don't think it's possible at this point with him. I think he's too injured, and I think he's too just not good at football anymore. But yeah, if that's on the table, that would, you talk about really, really stinging the team. That would be it.
Now, with that being said, Stefanski there, talking about Shedeur getting a little 11 on 11 tomorrow, maybe.
What are you doing?
I'm doing a little motion, huh?
Yeah. Is it
the motion of the ocean over here? Shedeur getting the 11 on 11.
No, you ruined it. You can't say his name that way and then have me try to get excited about it.
That's how you say it when you just gotta. Hey, we got Shedeur with the 11 on 11 reps.
Oh,
big boy football.
Are you prepared? Are you prepared for tomorrow? Tomorrow is going to be, he's going to get the 11 on 11 reps. Some, we don't know how much. And I think people are going to.
If it was one.
What's that?
Be funny if it was one.
That would just be, so, okay, that would be cruel. But there's also a part of me that wonders if like the 7-on-7s actually wasn't the worst thing in the world. Because 7-on-7s are easy just to boost up your stats. If we're charting these things, which nobody could imagine we were actually going to chart these things, Shedeur came out smelling like roses with the 7-on-7.
Oh, you don't want him to face better competition.
No.
So the stats look better.
I want him to face the best competition so he can actually get better. It's not a bad thing overall for Shedeur, though, if they're like, hey, 7-on-7's being charted, and you're just going to dominate with 3 touchdowns and 2 incompletions.
I think Stefanski will never admit this, but I think growing up listening to WIP, which he tells everyone he's listened to, and that's how he dummy proofs his answer.
Well, then also
to not give anyone real or anything actionable.
Then appearing on this station, being like, "Oh, but I read the quotes that you guys had on from the person you had on the station." Okay, great.
So I do think there's a part of Kevin that's enjoying this quite a bit, and I think he's enjoying who gets what reps in the light of day and who doesn't. I think that's kind of what he's pointing out there. I'm not prepared for the litany of Shedeur takes tomorrow. I'm not prepared for it. And I just know
what do you mean? This is our life.
No.
This is it now.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's my Joe Flacco's my life. Dylan Gabriel's my life. Kenny Pickett's my life.
All encompassing. You know the draft for 4 months we debated quarterbacks and that was your existence every single day?
Yes.
This now 4 quarterback battle is our life until early August.
Okay.
And then even within that, then we'll have games to actually play and we'll get to September. But like it's going to be, this is our life.
Yeah. This is still just OTAs, right? So like if he gives him 30, like let's say he gets the most 11 on 11 reps that anyone sees tomorrow.
That'd be a stark contrast from last week. It
still means nothing. Not nothing, relatively nothing, which is even harder to prove than nothing. Nothing is pretty absolute. Relatively nothing, boy, there's some wiggle room there.
I'm going to live in the little bit of that relatively nothing, okay? The difference between nothing and relatively nothing is where I'm going to live. Because if he does in fact get the most amount of 11 on 11 reps tomorrow, I think that would be very interesting as a 1 week change for Stefanski. But I do find it interesting that he's been giving him 11 on 11 reps, and then when the day came, he gave him 7-on-7, and that was it.
I don't think it's that interesting. I mean, okay, it's interesting in like a big picture totality. 7-on-7s here, 11 on 11 here. Like, where were these reps? Like, okay, if you actually keep track, you actually should, a Shedeur tracker, a Shetracker as it's called, if you do that, and all right, on May 29th, he was only on 7-on-7s, and then, okay, on June 4th, he was only on 11 on 11s. And then leading into camp, you can break down, all right, when the media saw him this day, this is what we saw. I might be interested in that. But this idea, like, because the problem is going to be, he looks good in 11 on 11s tomorrow, the hype is going to be outsized to what it should be in real life. If he looks bad, the opposite is going to be true as well. I think you're not prepared for that.
If he looking bad, he hasn't looked bad yet.
But my point is, if he looks shaky or if he has one bad pass.
We haven't had yet a time where the media's been out there where he's been looking bad or looked bad or anyone walked away being like, that wasn't great.
If he has one bad pass that makes it to social media, because that's all it takes is one bad play, I'm telling you, you're not prepared for it. I'm prepared for everything, including the things that'll annoy me.
I think I'm very prepared for it. I think I'm mentally ready for something like that to happen. I just don't think we haven't seen it yet. I do think it's peculiar that we haven't seen it yet.
So you think it's due?
Not that it's due. I just find it interesting. Like, is Shedeur really just tearing it up and that awesome in these settings? Or are they doing things like giving him the 7-on-7, maybe making him seem better than what he currently is right now?
All right. If Shedeur gets a lot of 11 on 11s tomorrow, is that justification to you? Or is that proof that he has a legitimate A fair shot. I don't want to say legitimate. A fair shot in a quarterback battle?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's them acknowledging that last week it made it seem like it was 3 quarterbacks and then Shedeur, and Shedeur wasn't treated the same way as the other ones. And so it would be a reflexive reaction to it, but I think that's warranted when he's looked the way that he's looked.
All right, now that we're just continuing on the Tuesdays with Maury thing here, you are not the father. That's a different Tuesdays with Maury.
Different Maury.
If the opposite happens, does that mean he's not getting a fair shot in the quarterback battle?
You mean what, if he only gets 7-on-7s?
Yeah.
Again? Didn't Stefanski say yesterday that wasn't going to be the case?
I'm just saying, because Kevin doesn't have to tell the truth, or if something
if he
changed.
lies and it's the same setup as last week, then yeah, it'll be like, all right, I guess Shedeur's not getting the same cracks. And then I don't know if I would believe him when he says that he gets 11-on-11 opportunities elsewhere. But I'm not really concerning myself with that because I'm, for the first time in my life, taking Stefanski at his word. That's a dangerous proposition. That's a dangerous proposition. I'm taking that man at his word. The man that apparently lies about being from Jersey all the time when he was born and raised in Philadelphia.
He just says, me and Flacco talk like Jersey guys. That's all he says. It means like
he says they talk like Jersey guys.
I swear to you, I've not.
Can we find this audio somewhere?
This is from. I
know he's not Will Smith out here creating songs where it starts where he's born and raised in West Philly, but like the man is born and raised in Philly. Like that's who he is.
I know.
It's a Philly guy.
I'm just saying he said the Jersey thing before.
Big Detroit guy, Nick Wilson.
Yeah, people talk about me. Nicky South Beach is what they call me.
Yeah. Well, that was college. Nicky South Beach.
That was back in my mob days. I'm just not prepared. I am prepared, but I'm not prepared.
It's gonna be fun. Tomorrow's gonna be a fun day.
And here's the thing: I'm still not convinced. There's nothing that can happen this week that'll prove to me that the Browns are actually going to give him a fair shot at quarterback. And fair shot is not the same thing as legitimate. Legitimate to me applies to you have like a better than 10-15% chance to win the quarterback job. A fair shot is you keep giving him opportunities to show what he's learned and show how he's changed from whatever he didn't like in the pre-draft process, and that if he passes each test, with each test, if you pass it, you get a bigger chance at the job.
Yeah, and that would kind of be what this is telling me, right? If you got 7-on-7 throws last week, and this week you get to step up with the big boys and do some 11-on-11s, keep passing those tests, and you'll keep having higher opportunities.